Hello, everyone. Today we will be talking about this amazing phenomena, what's happening, um, artificial intelligence, ChatGPT, and how it is changing the field of coaching and leadership. And today, on our call, we have Joe Jacoby, Olympic gold medalist, executive coach, who helps to transition leaders through the changes. And we also have Mantas Marčiulaitis, who specializes in change management, in bringing the excellence in growth, and he merges HR and technologies. And who we are? We are co-founders of Elevating Leadership Institute, coaching community for executives, where we create environment and training and support for executives, like for professional athletes, to sustain and endure high pressure environments at the high level of performance. So, Mantas, I would like to start with you. What are you noticing so far? Artificial intelligence, AI, and coaching, and then how it affects people and where it's moving this relationship between people and self-help, self-coaching, and improvement.
Thanks, Inga, and hi, everyone. It's nice to grapple with the subject. I have an observation, guys, I want to share with you, something that I've had, I think, just last week. I've been speaking with what you would probably call a very successful executive, somebody whose earning capacity is in the hundreds of thousands per month. So I guess by most standards, this would probably, people would say that they've, to a degree, made it. And this person is actually transitioning from one very, very visible role to his next career step. It seems that that person does not know for certain what that step is at this point. And he shared basically what he's doing now to facilitate this transition. So basically, his routine is that he has described in great detail his career situation, where he's at, what he would like to do, in a chat to ChatGPT. And then ChatGPT basically, based on his ask, compiled him a plan. I think it was a 3-month plan, a transition plan. It broke it down into detailed objectives, and it even sends, I haven't tried this myself, to be honest, I have to admit, but it even sends daily reminders in the form of email, of the things that the guy should be doing today, essentially, to progress on that plan. So it's a very interesting approach. I think I'm quite curious, and I want to hear from you to, on the coaching side of things. But it feels, at the very least, that this is this is a new step in a way that essentially you are having hyper personalization. The system is you're interacting with. You can call it a smart search, if you will. But it's actually suiting all of its answers and everything it does to your specific demands. Whether this is something that you would call in addition to having some sort of a machine that helps you structure things, whether this is something that is to be called coaching, I don't really know. And I guess I want to shoot back to you guys. What do you think? Is that something that you would actually call coaching?
I'm actually had quite a similar experience with now new clients who coming in. It seems it is a trend where they grapple those questions, what they are feeling in life first, now with ChatGPT, with AI technologies, to see where they're at. Some of them, they're bringing it to me to see to that interaction, that connection, what they were creating with this conversation. However, so far in the cases what I encountered with my clients, it still did not lead to solutions in execution. Like, yes, those ideas feel smart and good, However, it didn't translate into the action or behavior of trust, or maybe didn't bring the results what they hoped for. And Joe, since you're also particularly specialized in transitioning, what ideas spark for you Manta's example of his friend who transitioning and taking those steps from ChatGPT?
You know, I think when we have a conversation about this, I just want to point out I'm 55 years old. I'm a little older than both of you. And I just sort of look, I think about how long do I want to work, uh, which I'd like to work for another 20 years, which then makes me think how important is this topic really going to be, needs to be for me? Where am I best going to focus my attention to this? What kind of things am I noticing and picking up on? But I want to go back to that original question and just tell two very quick stories. One, I was reading a LinkedIn post from a Silicon Valley leader recently, someone whose book I read, someone whose speeches I've heard. He's very good. I think he does a really good job. But the post was that he was saying there's going to be no weekly newsletter this week. And by the way, I don't subscribe to his weekly newsletter. He said he's not writing a newsletter because Chat GPT said it like wasn't good enough. It wasn't up to the standard. And I just started reading like all like 35 comments that were in the post, and like everyone was just talking about prompts and things that he could do with the AI to make it better. And I just wrote like, am I the only one that's gonna just say why not hit publish? Like, isn't imperfection a little bit of what our best moments in life, better or worse, what you remember? Isn't that what it's really about? Like, are you really gonna like let Chat GPT dictate that human imperfection isn't good enough to pass on? And by the way, no response. Like all these other comments, I had like lots of response, and engagement. Mine zero. Like no one cares. No one cares in there. Second thing was, I'm in another community group, and we had a speaker the other day came in to speak about AI, and she was really good. But my biggest takeaway was, and she just said it out loud. She said, I'm exhausted. I need like a cabin in the mountains in the middle of nowhere. And that continues to be like where I'm focusing my attention. Whatever AI is going to do, like all it seems to be doing is opening up like a bigger and bigger door to the need to sort of look at the opposite end of the spectrum of like what's going on the human development side of the person that's trying to get more out of AI. And that's kind of the path that I've chosen, and where that's my filter and lens for these kind of conversations.
The topic of perfectionism, especially amongst the performers, is such a prominent one because this is how we equate success to ourselves, and then also our ideal self of that perfectionism, and not being perfect, having mistakes. It's scary for many, and these tools as AI, it kind of gives you um, proofed, like you prompt your ideas and then it creates the research based also checklist, also how you said it, it checks the grammar, since I don't know grammar, so I trust it completely. And then you start feeling, okay, I'm not making mistakes, I can post it or not post it, but it also it creates this connection from what you're doing and how you're doing, and then this feeling of unknown and being maybe even vulnerable to risk and exposure of failure. This one is kind of takes it away, that unknown, more and more. So I feel like it creates bigger disconnect in the evolution of
Hmm.
us, instead of actually moving on forward. with the whatever is doing. In your example, what you said, the person taking that chance, it's not perfect, but I'm still wanting to share.
Mhm.
um it's a thing what we need to train in life, this being daring.
Yeah, I'm thinking actually, guys, sort of it's an interesting thing, by the way, that the perfectionist, as we're referring to these examples, might actually be missing that. It's a fun thing in communication. Whether it's LinkedIn posts or any other type of communication that you're mentioning. One of the most valued aspects is authenticity. Now, the authenticity, the funny thing about authenticity is that, when you have constraints such as imperfect language, because it's your second or third tongue, and other constraints, sort of this, as the saying goes, that these limitations force you to be creative, and then hence you get something authentic that's unique to you and your constraints. When you're operating with, technological crutches, I mean, you have perfection, if you want to call it that. It's not authentic, though. I mean, it has to be. If in the old method it happened as a side effect of the way you were doing things, now you basically have to specifically manufacture it, which is actually a hard thing. So it's a bit of a sidetrack to what we're discussing, but I think there's the other end of that stick. Essentially, if you're trying to make things perfect, everyone sounds the same. So where the hell are you in the whole equation here? But staying on the subject, the one that we have here now, I'm curious. I mean, I would characterize, my AI helpers as agents who are, yes, they are hyper personalized to me. Yes, they're trying really hard. Whatever I ask is the best freaking question ever. And that's a good insight. Yes, let's emphasize this aspect of things. So they're very eager to sort of in the tone of voice to help. They're not very insightful, though. And basically what you ask, you get. That's the sort of thing. And I'm thinking, guys, I guess there's a question to you. Do you think that even if AI would manage to ask you a question, you can probably prompt it into a mode where it would start challenging you. Do you think that, knowing that there is no other person on the other side of that equation, that somebody who actually puts their trust in you and says, well, you are doubting this, but I think you can. Knowing at the end of the day, you do know that, there is no being on the other side of this. Do you think that absence of distrust is the missing element, that will not ultimately, that is something that constricts you, that doesn't allow you to actually, act on that challenge, act on that push, and step out of whatever, running in circles in your head you might be stuck in?
I love this question. I think it. First of all, I think there's a lot of kind of it depends in the answer to that, Montes, because I mean, I think where people are in their AI journey, and I mean, how sort of if you just think of it as like a spectrum, and there's like a technology side and a human side. If you are like really off kilter on the technology side, then yeah, you're, at least for a while, I guess you could sort of say things are going to get worse before they get better. Like, you're going to trust, you're
Yeah,
going to put it
yeah,
all out there. We already know. I mean, people are like, trying to use these for like romantic relationships, like all kinds of things. Like, I mean, it just depends where people are. But if you are coming in with a sense of a little bit more balance, a little bit more not leanings, but definitely putting in the time, the attention to the human development of yourself. Yeah, I don't think that, I think you're going to catch on pretty quickly to the idea that human connection is absent, and that's going to affect trust, and that you're going to be more aware of becoming isolated. I mean, I just think it just depends where on that scale the person is that's kind of being asked the question. And there's no doubt those kind of free thinking, free flowing questions from the AI side, they're coming and they're going to improve.
I love this also point what Mantas you raised, and Joe elaborated on connection and accountability. Um, I asked ChatGPT today to pinpoint my weak points, blind spots, and give me critical feedback. It was so general. I've been using ChatGPT for a while, so it had a good uh, summary of the things what I do and what I pay attention to. However, when I asked how should I evolve myself from those points, it was almost the answer when we used to go to interviews and they would ask interviewer would ask you what are your weaknesses, and you would say, well, perfectionism. I really strive for the high results, and then it gives me really like busy and I get stuck. So all the answers where I am having like so many different interest points, it can I can lose the energy and maybe get stuck and not evolve my projects. But that's my personality.
Yeah.
There's a reason why I have so many different involvements. They were asking I should delegate more and specialize, because that's a general advice what we see on the internet. In high performance, what we are discussing with leaders, and from the experience, Olympic experience, high performance experience, what we have, like we know the subtle sensitivities of advantages of having different interests, and then how it creates how we feed each other's senses and allow the growth of our mind, body, and emotions towards higher, better results. So when it prompted me certain steps to do, I feel like it's no connection and no accountability for me to do that, because I don't really bought in to those steps. That's one thing. Another thing, I feel like what makes a huge difference when we coaching our clients and we interaction with our clients, or when we are coached, we have this image of ourselves, what we try to portray. It's like in the video, we feel we're doing one thing, but when we see the recording, we're so surprised that we are having certain mannerisms. So the coach sees all those aspects, but you may not be prompting to AI, or not wanting to disclose, or not even aware of those points. What coach can see it quite fast, and then it becomes communication, how to deliver that message so it would be received, and then we doing it in a very sensitive way to make sure it's in the right way impactful, not just spilling out like you do this wrong and this is it's completely you should focus on that. It's like, no, it is like co-creation journey, but that knowledge of what because I'm sure we can all agree, when the client comes in with one problem or subject, we end up coaching on completely different things. And I don't think so this is what the AI have those possibilities to detect. However, and this is where I want to turn this also the subject to both of you, what advantages do you see of AI where you would recommend it's good thing, and then what you would distinguish what it's still not doing, where it's not useful to use it? Mantas, maybe?
Joy, if you want to start, I can let you start. No.
I think for me, I think for ideation, I think I don't necessarily presume my prompts and questions to be especially great or advanced or developed. But, if I ask for some, sort of engage in a little bit of ideation and just try to sort of pull on maybe, seen something that I wasn't seeing, and it's an idea that I can play with creatively. I like that, but I think what I'm really just sort of paying attention to is more just the overall human response to it all. And that's where, I think that the human coaching is going to come in and play an important role to that too. But I'm not advanced or sophisticated enough or really looking to use it so deeply yet.
Mm.
Any other ways?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think from my side, it's a bit of a similar territory. I think being a firm believer that we can call it a life philosophy. That the correct definition of the issue at hand or the problem that you're trying to solve is half of the actual solving bit. So I do believe in that, and I think this process, what I guess you call ideate, for me actually involves figuring out what's the right question to ask. So in that sense, I mean, the process of having sort of a conversation with an agent and thinking through about the questions I would like to ask, and so that kind of helps, I guess, in a degree. What it also potentially helps, even though of course people probably know that who've been using this, and then probably it's pretty much everyone by now, that there is a lot of what they call hallucinations, so you can't take the answers that you get for granted. That being said, I mean, it is a pretty useful research tool, especially if you're able to guide it in the right direction. Again, questions sort of, so that does help. But I do agree. I mean, I guess my takeaway from this whole is that it's definitely a technology, by the way, that's, if I have a choice of sort of having it versus not having it, I mean, having it is always better. So no questions there whatsoever. At the same time, recognizing its limitations is probably quite important. And I think, I am yet to be convinced, let's put it this way. Maybe this moment shall come, I don't know. Even though, what we discussed, there's a lot of this connection element and everything that machines are. This is just beyond, hyper-personalized or not, this is just beyond what they are. In any case, seeing yourself beyond the restrictions of your own lens, and to me, that's probably a significant part of what the coaching process is about. So, being able to do that is probably a challenge that I don't know how technology technology alone, let's put it this way, can help you do that. I don't think it's feasible with what I've witnessed, both on the capability, what it's actually capable of doing, but also in the response that it elicits, with all the accountability and trust and all that sort of being the missing elements.
I like playing with AI, with technologies. So far, it gives me understanding what, if you're expert in certain fields, it's a good deliberation of what other ideas you can focus on and distinguish what's right, what's not right in that conversation. So I think so for coaches who are exploring certain subjects of cases with clients, you can prompt in, but then it also, we need to be really careful with data privacy, how we prompt that information and how we explore that subject. However, for the client to use the same way as me, maybe in any medical field, asking AI, cure me. I would not know what the data means, what are the researches and even words mean, even how much it translates. But I would avoid using in such a way in the fields where I am not knowledgeable. And from what you both mentioned today, I think so it also gives me more understanding of what humanness is, and even being more excited to double down on that humanness and creating and standing for our uniqueness, standing up. My only concern, and I know we're already at time, but one more topic I wanted to bring is this relationship with technology, where we were discovery of Google, discovery of emails. It's supposed to make our lives easier in work environment. However, it made it completely trajectory to everyone's burnout. And now with AI, I do have a little bit of feeling that I cannot catch up now with anything, and then I really need to deliberately let it go. And this is what I meant about, like, you're human, act like a human, expect like a human thinks. This is technology. You're never ever gonna catch up. You're never ever gonna know what new things are happening, and trusting that your humanness is enough in being professional in your field, and the speed how you as a human developing, not needing to match the technology development. That's quite a strained relationship. But you feel this relationship between human and technology and how it's evolving? What are the concerns and opportunities?
I have a long Thinking in Waves essay coming out tomorrow about this. And again, I think my age, my experience just sort of affords me, sort of an idea, a position on this is like, I don't care. I don't know how better to say it. I don't care. Like, I just feel like the more that I lean into my human side and let go of the technology side, not only the happier I am, but now it's really starting to turn, like, now you can start to see some, what I thought were some concessions in performance to becoming advancement in performance. And again, not that I even care about that. It's just fact, and it's just happening. And I don't expect that to happen. I don't expect my life, the older I get, for like everything just to get better. Like, I don't think like that's the way, the human life and our existence here works. But yeah, I, I I think these conversations, what I always sort of feel with is the only reason darkness means something is because there's light. And the only reason light means something is because there's darkness. Like, they can't coexist without each other. They need both. And so, yeah, I've just kind of tend to focus on one side of that spectrum a bit more than the other. And yeah, I don't think that's where the majority of people are, but I'm gonna focus on finding like the people that are a little bit more like-minded in that way and care about the human side and are willing and ready to make peace with that part of it, and be willing to experiment. I'm not even trying to change anyone's opinion. I just want people to experiment with it and see what happens. That's where I am. But again, I come at it from a different stage. I might not feel the same way if I were 25 years old.
Mhm. Yeah, well, I think I'm coming probably a decade or so before you on that side, Joe. And from my side, I mean, like we discussed, guys, before we had started this call about energy, and I think sort of, to me, I mean, you can do things, from different places within. You can do something because you're missing it. There's this big fear of missing out on something, and then that's one thing. You can do it because you're genuinely curious. I mean, those are two different experiences. Trust me, I've had both. So two different experiences, definitely. So that's probably I don't know if there is a recipe. It's not a recipe, really. I mean, there's no recipe, but that's sort of an answer from my side, And then I think to sort of have something actionable out of this. I'm thinking I want to have something actionable out of this. For me, the actionable thing is, I mean, it's great. Whoever is watching this, if people are using AI as a sort of complementary actor force thing in their life, I mean, it's amazing. Go and do that. Be aware of the constraints, of the privacy implications, and all that. But I mean, go and use it. At the same time, I think it is not a substitute, neither in capacity nor in the essence of it, to true human connection. And then I hope people will not delude themselves into thinking that it is, because I think if you are already having a hard time trusting somebody, and if you're using AI to build connection, probably that's the case. Man, I mean, are you going to be disappointed when you realize there is no connection that's actually happening? So to their own benefit, I would wish that they do invest in actual human connections. If it's a coach or it's a friend, I mean, it doesn't really matter. But do have a true human connection. That's not something that algorithms can replace. So I guess that's my summary. Inga, do you want to finish with something from your end?
You're reminding again the question, but we need to train ourselves to keep not skipping and asking, what is the point of this technology or tool what we're using? Is it we're using just to use it, or like what is the need here? Like how you said it, if we want to develop ourselves, what is a true development for ourselves? Is it only theory, only reading of books, or is it actually doing things and then having the feedback, doing, experimenting? But you just, Joe, also reminded us, daring things, to do, to play, to experiment. This is the only way how human evolves. It's not a computer mind yet where you just plugging in the chip and then you have uploaded the karate moves.
Yeah, like
And
Neo.
now you are the
I
fighter.
know kung fu.
Yes. Not yet, at least. However, for me, I love, and today I had the conversation with the person and asked like what I love the most about sports. Is it those results and achievements what I had? It's coming to practice every day, to co-create, to have this exploration of possibilities, of unknown, of experiences and different feelings, how we use different techniques or experiments in ourselves. So if we're looking for connection in AI, that's not the place to find. And if this kind of topics interests you in exploring how you performing, how you developing, we have every month 2 meetings in Elevating Leadership Institute membership community, where we challenge each other ideas for that connection, for that growth, what we're seeking in supporting each other to have this beautiful life experience, human experience. So if it is something appealing to you, apply at elevatingleadershipinstitute.com, and we're looking forward to meet you. Thank you, Mantas. Thank you, Joe, and see you soon.